So, Corey, would you mind telling us a bit more about your background and how Regulatory Connections came to be?
Sure. So, longtime consultant. I think I've been a consultant now for the past 9, 10 years. Love consulting. There's a lot of freedom in it. But how I ended up as a consultant is a little bit longer of a story and goes back to our 2009 financial crisis in the US. I was an operations manager for a large independent stock brokerage here in Denver, Colorado. And really, when we hit that financial crisis, that was a crisis that hit our financial sector very hard, a little different than what we're experiencing now. So that crisis really drove me into exploring other areas. There wasn't a lot of work in stock brokerages after that. And the focus of the industry really became compliance. Not that we didn't have some compliance before, but it really became paramount. And I was sourced by a recruiting firm to go in on a real simple project, risk management, specifically a STAR look back, which is suspicious activity reporting in the anti-money laundering realm. And I was on that project for, I think, about 6 months. And anyone who knows look backs knows they're not that fun. they don't they they're very redundant. But I really, despite that, realized I had a love for the content. And I've been in anti-money laundering and OFAC economic sanctions work ever since. My practice has grown out of that over the last 10 years to encompass risk management in general. So I also work within operational risk. I do a lot of systems and technology risk, which is actually a part of the business that I really love. Technology is becoming more and more important. We see that particularly this year in the ways that we're connecting, the ways we're working together apart. And yeah, so here I am 10 years later. Started my own firm around 8 years ago. And really at that time, it was about ways that consultants receive compensation. So a lot of the time in consulting, the firm will want you to have the ability to be 1099, because then you don't have to straight up join their firm. But it's really evolved since that time into what it is now, where over 2020, 2021, I will be placing other consultants into roles rather than doing all of the work myself. Because one thing I've realized is with the connections we have, there's enough work that I can't do it all myself. So hoping in 2021 to grow into a bigger entity. Right now it's just two of us, but I think that I'm seeing a lot of hope for the future in doing more, especially in the fintech arena.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, like you said, technology and just digital transformation is really taking precedence this
Right.
year and obviously into next. So would you say that's like one of the most important areas that Regulatory Connections focuses on? Like, what's the most important thing it brings?
I would say that's the most important part. I mean, what we do, what I do, can't be done without technology. And when I'm actively in banks myself, of course, technology is everything. It's how we get our data. It's an important part of what we look at as internal auditors, external auditors, monitors. Is the technology functioning properly? And I do a lot around model risk validation, model risk governance, testing what the bank's production field looks like. Was testing adequate before the bank stood up a platform? So I would say tech's the basis of everything that we do. And we're seeing it become not only the basis, but almost the entire content for some of the entities, the digital banks, which you and I kind of spoke about prior, digital banking, of course, cryptocurrency. And I think that at the federal level, the regulators are very much emphasizing the importance of technology. And we hear a lot of kind of just markers or see flags being put down that, you know, it will become more important as we go along, the aspects of artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of that. So even if we're not actively addressing those components, that we should be prepared and be educating ourselves to be active in those fields as auditors.
Yeah, and I would imagine that that's kind of an endeavor that takes time too, to really learn all the areas of those technologies, and specifically to learn how they're being applied at
Right.
institutions, because each instance is different.
Right. And I think like back, you know, a ways back, maybe you didn't know a lot of people who were in anti-money laundering audit, right? Now it seems like you can easily meet a lot of people who are in that field, or socially you'll meet someone who says, oh, my aunt does that, my cousin does that. And I think we will see something similar, where right now we don't necessarily know a lot of people in even our industry circles who are experienced with auditing a cryptocurrency company. But I think
Yeah.
that we'll see that shift, where down the road it'll be quite normal to know someone with that expertise in your industry circle.
Mhm. So basically, you're a pioneer, is what you're telling me. You were pioneered at the
I hope
forefront of
so.
AML and now crypto.
Yeah, I like that. I certainly hope I am. I have an insatiable need to learn for sure. You know, that doesn't stop at any given point in one's career, one's life. And so definitely, I hope that I'm pioneering in my thought, and more importantly, I hope I'm open in my thought, because I think some of these technologies, and back to cryptocurrency, but there's a tendency to write them off as, oh, that's a little far out there, you know, but some of these are not. And I think we need to have that
Yeah.
mindset of looking at things from all sides, watching the
Mhm.
trend, seeing, you know, what does remain, what is sustainable, because I think a lot of these will end up being sustainable.
Yeah, definitely. I know cryptocurrency, well, you know better than I do. Cryptocurrency in particular is really like taking hold, it seems, in the industry. I've seen some news out from the OCC, for example. I
Right,
believe that they're pretty focused on it. So yeah,
right.
now is the best time to get started, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely agreed.